Bro, what is going on? Travis, bro, what are you doing? Dude, what was all that? What are you doing? Where are you taking all this stuff? Holy shit, dude, I think he's lost it.
Kourtney Kardashian breaks silence on Travis Barker's behavior, revealing how the passion that made Kravis irresistible can also push the limits. We dive into the fast lane they chose, neighbors to lovers, 3 weddings, headline PDA, and the Dolce fallout that split the family. Stay to the end for the twist, pregnancy joy, a medical scare, and whether Travis's impulse is pure devotion or a red flag waiting to explode.
Like this matcha station over here, where I have everything: cinnamon, I have nutmeg, I have cacao, you know, I can heat up tea really.
The first time they stepped into the spotlight together, the internet didn't just react, it recalibrated. Kourtney Kardashian, the sister known for eye rolls and boundaries, and Travis Barker, the drummer who treats life like a permanent encore.
Wait.
It would be 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good, babe.
Suddenly moved in the same frame. Instantly, people tried to label it. Rocker meets reality star. Chaos meets calm. Ink meets almond milk. But the real story wasn't cute opposites or recycled clichés. It was the physics of speed meeting the physics of control. He runs hot, she runs steady. Put those forces in the same room and you don't just get romance, you get torque. From the jump, their energy bent time. Private jokes turned public in a heartbeat. Handholds became headlines. Every whisper turned into a bass drop. And yet, beneath the adrenaline, there was a quieter truth that kept the whole thing from flying apart. Kourtney's insistence on a center. She's the person who leaves a party without announcing it. She's the one who once pressed pause on fame to protect her peace. But standing next to Travis, pause vanished. The volume knob snapped clean off. That's why people couldn't look away. Not because they kissed more than other couples, not because the outfits were loud or the trips were spontaneous. It was because you could feel the conflict and the chemistry at the exact same time. It felt like watching someone floor a car while tapping the brake with the other foot. Messy, magnetic, somehow still moving forward. The red carpets, the gossip cycles, the family side-eyes, all of it hovered around one burning question. Can you build a stable life on top of non-stop fireworks? They didn't try to answer it with speeches. They answered it with escalation. Bigger gestures, bigger settings, a love story that refused to use its inside voice. And if you thought that volume would fade, it didn't. It translated into ink, into vows, into a fashion war that split the family group chat in two. Because with them, nothing stops at the moment. Every moment becomes a stage. But long before the cameras caught the first kiss, there was a neighborhood, 2 mailboxes, and a rhythm that started very, very small.
For years, they were a familiar backbeat in each other's lives. Same area, same shops, same school events where you nod across the parking lot and pretend schedules aren't impossible. That's where it began. Not with a headline, but with proximity. Real proximity changes people. You stop seeing the myth and start seeing the person. You notice who always shows up early, who stays late to clean up, who keeps their word when no one's scoring points. He wasn't auditioning for the family. He already had a name that didn't need the machine. He'd toured the world, lost things that can't be replaced, and learned the kind of humility you only earn the hard way. She wasn't seeking a mascot for the brand. She was raising kids, building routines, trying to hold on to a life that didn't always require a press release. That's the paradox. The wildest story in pop culture began like a school day carpool loop. Over time, the edges got softer. Kids became friends. Houses became second homes. Where neighbors turned into we're in each other's orbit. You can write off most celebrity crushes as curated fantasy. This wasn't that. It was 2 people with long track records of responsibility and wreckage, healing and hustle, letting their guard down in slow motion. And then the shift. Somewhere between casual dinners and family trips, the dial flicked.
The chemistry that had been politely tucked away came roaring to the surface. It didn't announce itself with fireworks. It started like a smirk you can't swallow, like a late text that lands perfectly, like laughter that comes too fast, too easy, the kind you try to ignore until it's ridiculous to pretend you don't feel it. Once it clicked, it clicked. Years of familiarity compressed into weeks of momentum. Respect became romance. Inside jokes became public posts. The story left the sidewalk and stepped onto a stage. And it brought all that history with it. That's why the early days felt so intense. They weren't starting from zero, they were finally cashing in on a balance they'd been quietly building for years. And once the door opened, subtlety was over. The first loud move wasn't a trip or a ring, it was a needle and a name. One moment you're flirting like teenagers, the next he's carving permanence into skin. Not a discreet initial on an ankle, a chest piece, bold script, no exit strategy. It was more than a declaration, it was a dare to doubt him. And suddenly everyone had an opinion, devotion or drama, romantic or reckless. The internet split into camps, as if love needs a panel of judges.
But here's the thing about speed. It's not random when you've known each other this long. To outsiders, the tattoo felt like a catapult. To them, it was a checkpoint. Weeks after going public, he didn't tiptoe, he leapt. Flowers, flights, hands never not intertwined, affection that didn't ask for permission. It was the loudest yes he could possibly give, and it turned the comment section into a stadium. For Kourtney, the volume must have felt like oxygen. After years of living through relationships that played tug-of-war with her boundaries, here was a partner who didn't just choose her, he broadcast it. He put a stake in the ground, then lit fireworks on top of it. For someone who'd spent a long time silencing noise to protect her peace, the right kind of noise can feel like music. That's the addictive part of intensity. It tells you you're not just loved, you're prioritized, loudly. Of course, intensity has attacks. What feels like flying can shake the cabin. When every date is a headline, every gesture becomes a referendum. You can't sneak a Sunday without someone yelling that the honeymoon is over. When love accelerates, the smallest bump feels like a plot twist. And with them, the acceleration didn't stop at ink. It scaled into a lifestyle. Spontaneity wasn't a personality trait anymore. It was logistics. They didn't pull back. They built. They stacked moments like dominoes until falling in love looked like an art installation. And just when people thought, okay, they'll settle now, they didn't. They staged a trilogy. 3 ceremonies, 3 tones, 1 message that couldn't be misread. Vegas was a shot of espresso. Santa Barbara was the signature. Italy was the painting. Put them together, and you get not just a marriage, but a manifesto. One night was chaos on purpose. Think neon, laughter that runs past midnight, vows spoken with the kind of joy that doesn't check the clock. It wasn't legal. It wasn't supposed to be. It was a wink to the world. We do what we want when we want. That was chapter 1. Chapter 2 came with paper and pens. Courthouse steps, simple clothes, a few witnesses. No pyrotechnics, just gravity. The moment you choose the unglamorous parts on purpose, you're not performing anymore. You're building a spine for the story. Anyone can get swept up in a Vegas haze. Choosing a Tuesday at a courthouse requires a different muscle. It says this isn't a bit, this is our life. Chapter 3. Portofino, sunlit stone, dark lace, family everywhere. A visual language that screamed iconography and intimacy at the same time. It was an aesthetic thesis, tradition transposed. Velvet and veils, art and attitude. Every frame a postcard stamped with their initials. Not everyone loved the maximalism. That's fine. It wasn't for everyone. It was for them. But the weddings did more than celebrate a couple. They drew a map. Vegas said, we can be impulsive and happy about it. Santa Barbara said, we're accountable to this. Italy said, we're going to make it beautiful enough to remember forever. 3 ceremonies that looked extravagant from the outside were actually one long sentence. This is our story, and we're telling it loud. Of course, beauty has consequences when your family speaks fluent brand. The Italian chapter wasn't just lace and limos, it was fashion with a proper noun. And in that family, proper nouns are pressure points. The same gowns that turned heads also turned the temperature up at home. Because when style becomes territory, someone is bound to say, "You stepped on mine." That's the twist. The trilogy didn't end with a kiss. It ended with a crack. What the world saw as a dream sequence sparkled into a lightning bolt that split the sky. Sisters, business, boundaries, all lit up at once. Because after the confetti, another question rolled in. Who owns the moment? The woman who lived it, or the machine that monetizes it? The family math got messy. On one side, a sister in love, living the chapter she'd waited years to write. On the other, a sister who lives by calendars and contracts, who sees opportunity in everything and isn't shy about maximizing it. Cue the argument heard round the internet. Sharp words, sharper silence afterward. Suddenly, Italy wasn't just a setting, it was a symbol. It wasn't just dresses, it was domain. Fans took sides because that's what fans do. Some swore Kourtney was finally choosing herself. Others argued Kim was doing what she's always done, turning a lane into a highway. The reality, they were both right and both wrong in ways that only sisters can be. Love is personal. Brand is public. When those two collide, there are no clean wins. The hurt feels private, even when it's filmed. The optics feel public, even when the healing begins. Over time, the fire cooled. Front rows were shared again. Campaigns overlapped. The détente didn't erase the fracture, but it put the pieces back on the same table. That's the Kardashian paradox. A fight can fuel a season. Forgiveness can fuel an empire. Either way, the story moves. But while the discourse cooked online, real life walked in without knocking, and it changed everything. A concert sign turned into a family milestone. Joy everywhere. Then the unexpected, medical urgency. The kind that scrambles every priority you thought you had. For a couple built on momentum, stillness became the bravest choice in the room. Appointments, waiting rooms, whispered prayers, gratitude that can't fit in a caption. They came through it. They exhaled. And when their son arrived, the noise made sense again.
People underestimate how much these moments reset a relationship. Suddenly, the stuff that used to feel enormous shrinks. The optics matter less. The schedule changes. The center of gravity moves to a bassinet and a shared glance at 3 a.m. That's where their intensity did something rare. It softened, not into boredom, into focus. And focus has a home address, keys, closets, one calendar instead of two. Taking two lives with full histories and folding them into one roof isn't romantic. It's logistical poetry. 9 schedules, allergies, bedtimes, chore lists. Some days the romance is a look across a messy kitchen that says, "We're doing it." He's still the guy who will book a flight just to catch a sunset with her. She's still the woman who craves a quiet corner and a predictable morning. The bridge between those realities got sturdier. Not because anyone changed who they are, but because they learned how to move together. Kourtney said it herself in a dozen different ways. He's more impulse, she's more balance. That's not a problem to fix, it's a rhythm to learn. Sundays slow, Mondays ramp. Tour dates get penciled next to field trips. Wellness at dawn, drums at midnight. Public shows for millions, private rituals for 9. It's not glossy, it's not meant to be. It's sustainable, which is rarer. So the only question left is the one that keeps the comment section breathing. What does a love like this look like in the long run? Today, the volume's still high, but the pace is smarter. The sisters show up side by side more than they spar. The band roars, the baby squeals, the home hums. The grand gestures didn't disappear, they just have context. A surprise trip lands between parent-teacher conferences. A PDA moment shares a calendar with a pediatric appointment. The romance is still cinematic, the life is finally lived in. And that original question, the one about speed and breaks, didn't vanish, it matured.
At first, impulse looked like the whole point. Now, it's a love language that learned its timing. That's the glow people noticed without being able to name it. The spotlight still loves them, but it's not running the house anymore. So, what's your read? Did Travis give Kourtney the kind of love that finally matched her courage? Or did his all-gas energy nearly blow the doors off before they learned how to steer it together? Drop your take. Keep it bold, because if there's one constant with this family, it's that the story never ends. It just turns the page, louder than last time, and somehow a little wiser too.